Hi, this is Jared Wells with LearnSpeed.com. This is a training video of the scheduling system. This video is not meant to be an overview or a demo of the scheduling system. For an overview and a demo of the system, I suggest you go to the LearnSpeed.com website, go to Features, and under Features find Scheduling. There's a video there that will provide you a comprehensive yet of an overview of the system. Won't go into as much detail as we are going to go into in this video. All right, we're going to take a look at a few things. The first things that we're going to look at is the calendars that we have here on the left-hand side. We can build our view of calendars very easily by searching for an instructor. Something to note as I start to type in while I'm looking for the instructor, it's going to search for all of the calendars that match this, in this case Mark, and as I continue to type it's going to narrow things down. So really all I have to do is type in as much as I need to find the one I want and then hit enter. So the process is pretty straightforward. Mark prior, I just start to type it in and then you'll see that it comes up. I just hit enter and that calendar is now going to appear. So pretty straightforward. The other way we could have done that, I'll go ahead and unsubscribe to this calendar, removing it from my list, is if I typed in Mark and it pulls up the list of marks that I can subscribe to, and just go ahead and click on the one I want and then hit enter after I've selected it. Okay, a couple ways to pull up those calendars. All right, now that I've looking at Mark's calendar, I can also look at multiple calendars at the same time. So let's go ahead and select these. When you're looking at multiple calendars, it can get kind of muddy. Personally, I don't like looking at multiple calendars at once, but every now and then it makes sense to do that. And the week view may not be the best way to look at it. The day view can be easier to take a look and see what's happening. But the list view might be the best way to look at multiple calendars. When I'm looking at the list view, I can see that via each day, what's the agenda for that day, which instructors are working with which students. So a number of different ways to see that information. We're going to go back to the week view here. And we'll take a look at this, that once I've got multiple calendars and I'm looking at them, what I can do is click on these down arrows again. I can say show only. And when I do that, it brings me back to just that view. All right. So the view here on the left-hand side controls which calendars I view. Now, when I am scheduling, even though I have the availability here that's already been set, we have a separate video on availability. The setting availability is very straightforward, but just because I have the availability here set doesn't mean that I'm limited to only scheduling there. That's for a visual guide, and it's also used in the availability tag search. There's a video on tag search as well that you can use. All right, so once again, when I'm looking at the calendar and I see the availability and the students that are scheduled, I can schedule wherever I'd like. Let's say I want to schedule in the morning here that there's an office meeting. So this is an example of just creating an event for a particular time in a day. It's not associated to a student. I just hit save. And because no student was selected, it's going to say what I had put in the event, in this case office meeting. But if I'm going to schedule a meeting with a student for this particular instructor, I'm going to add an attendee here at the bottom, put in Pablo, and select Pablo here. Now because require session log is checked and I have a student attending, when I hit save, it's going to go ahead and populate at the top Pablo's, I think this is the one I just created. It's going to populate this with Pablo offered, the student's name. Now, there might be an occasion where, let's say that I'm working with a student. I'll put in Pablo. Maybe I'm meeting with the parent. Well, actually, you know what? I'll put this not in the notes. I'll put this in the event. So in this case, I'm meeting with the parent. And it happens to be about Pablo. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck require session log. And the reason why is because if I'm meeting with the parent and the student, maybe I'm not creating a session log. This is not a tutoring session that requires a billable event to take place. I'm just meeting with the parent. So by unchecking this, I can still put a student that says who this is about, but this name now, meeting with the parent, when I click Save, now that shows up as meeting with the parent. Here it is for that 4:30 time, meeting with the parent. If I have a rollover here, it tells me information about what that is and who the attendees are on the left-hand side here. Meeting with parent, I can see that that was with Mark Pryor and Pablo. Okay, so that's creating events that specifically just kind of review, that's specifying the difference between an event on the calendar and actually scheduling a session with the student. Just to go over this one more time because it's important. We'll actually not look at that event. We're going to go ahead and just schedule another event with a student. When I'm scheduling an event with a student, if I add the attendee and require session log is checked, then it's going to put the student's name in the name of the scheduled session. That's how you know it's a session that's scheduled with the instructor. All right, let's take a look at a few other things now that we're looking at this adding event. When we use this reoccurring, we've got a couple options here. We can recur until, let's say we want to recur until the end of the school year, to the 22nd. And we can make this Mondays and Wednesdays. So it's going to create events on Mondays and Wednesdays from now until the end of the school year. Now, even if this is the first semester, my suggestion is to set calendars that are reoccurring for an indefinite period of time to the end of the school year. Let's think about a scenario. You have 100 students that have started the tutoring with your company at the beginning of the school year. And you know that a lot of them are going to change their schedules at the semester. Let's say as many as 70% are going to change their schedules. But if you put in the reoccur date for the end of this first semester, then that means you're guaranteed to have to change all of the, or reset all of the schedules, all 100. If you put the reoccur date until the end of the school year, then that means that the 70% of students that need changes in their schedules, you can simply delete the forward-looking sessions and then build their new schedules. And the 30% though that have the same schedule moving forward, you don't have to do anything. So just something to keep in mind when you're using reoccur until. Now the other option that we have is instead of reoccur until is number of sessions. And this would be used if you were selling a package like a 26-hour, let's say, SAT program that was going to come to an end once those 26 hours, in this case 13 weeks, had expired and all those sessions have taken place. I wouldn't use this for just pre-billing. That is, I wouldn't necessarily, if the parent bought a 20-hour package of sessions, I would go ahead and have that reoccur until the end of the school year, and we have an accounting system that will help you and the parent know when they need to re-up for more sessions. But the point is that just because they bought 20 hours of tutoring, academic support, it doesn't mean that they're not going to continue with that schedule once those block of tutoring sessions have been used up. All right, we talked about availability. When you're setting availability for the instructor, you simply check that box. Student limit, this allows you to set maybe a group session. Maybe there's only one student that's scheduled currently. Let's say if we schedule Pablo. And so Pablo's scheduled for this. This means that now the system will know that this is one student has been scheduled for a limit of 3 students. And when you do a search for availability, it'll come back as you can schedule additional students in this group session. I'll tell you that 1 of 3 has been used. When you add a new student to this, let's pull up another student here. Let's pull up Aaron. Now it would know that there's 2 of 3. It still would come up in the search results for availability until we had all 3 students scheduled for that slot, 3 of 3. Okay. Require session log. We talked a little bit about when this is checked, and it will be checked by default as a center setting. When this is checked, it means that if a student is attached as attendee, then that means that this requires a session log, and this session will show up in the session queue under the home page. Check out the session queue video for more information about that. But ultimately, it's a tool to make sure that all session logs get recorded. Individual instructors can look at what sessions that they need to log and reminded if they're past due, and administrators can likewise see sessions for all instructors that need to be logged and which ones are past due. Notify attendees. This is a center-wide default switch. You can have that defaulted as on or off. This will notify attendees, in this case the parents of Pablo and Aaron and the students themselves if you choose, that the session is, that there's a session that's scheduled, let's say the next day. That's a center-wide setting that you can decide how to set how much time in front of the sessions you want to notify people, if at all, about their scheduled sessions. In the upper right-hand corner over here, copy to session student note. This is a feature that we are exploring to help companies that have lesson plans that they set for the future. The instructor would look at their scheduled sessions that they have on their calendar, and they can put in for the following session, let's say it's going to happen next week, that this is going to be lesson 1.3 and whatever the description is. The company that's using this right now has descriptions of lesson plans in another place. They can copy that information, plug it in here so that they and the student know what's going to happen. Now, because they want this information in the session log as well, they have this checkbox, copy to student note, copy to session note. So this is the parent, sorry, that's the admin note. We would want this one. This is the note that goes home to the parent. And if you want that to be included to the student as well, you could use this. So if you've got any questions about this, go ahead and submit a request using the feedback button at the top that you'd like more information about that. We're still building and exploring how that's going to be used. All right, so that is scheduling events. A few other things to take note of. The down arrow box has a few other selections here. We've got add calendar. This would be for calendars that you can create that aren't associated with a particular person, instructor, but are things like office meetings. So things that you can create that are outside of a particular person, you can go ahead and set those calendar events for what office meetings you have. And then you can invite, of course, people to those meetings as attendees. They'll show up on those calendars as well. You can also, let's take a look at one of these here. We have the subscription URL. This creates a unique subscription for this particular calendar so that the instructor can add that calendar to their iPhone or their Android phone using the iCal or CalDAV format. We have another video on that and that you can share with your instructors so that they can have their calendars show up on their smartphones. Okay, so that is a general overview of the scheduling system. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the feedback in the upper right hand corner. We'll make sure to get back to you, and those questions will also help us to improve these trainings. The other thing too is that in these question marks throughout the system, you can click on these and that will give you more information about that particular section if you forget about what these things are. These are also, by the way, conditional, so administrators see different help content than instructors. So that's the training for scheduling. The next training that we will take a look at is communication logs, work orders, and tasks.